I woke up on my 34th birthday telling myself not to expect anything. By now I knew better. Every year since childhood had been the same. My sister Olivia showered with gifts and hugs, while I was lucky to get a leftover cupcake and a muttered "don't complain." But that morning, Mom knocked with a fake sing-song voice. "Get up, birthday boy, we have a surprise." My father's laugh echoed from the kitchen, sharp and cruel. Olivia smirked from the doorway. "Finally, they're giving you something." At breakfast there was no cake, no gift, just Mom sliding a blindfold across the table. "Put this on." I hesitated. Dad slammed his hand on the table. "Do it. Don't ruin your own birthday." I tied it on. Hands gripped my arms, dragged me outside, into a car. Olivia hummed a mocking version of "Happy Birthday" the whole ride. The car stopped. I heard barking. Dozens of dogs. Mom yanked off the blindfold. We were standing outside a rundown dog shelter. Dad shoved me forward so hard I hit the dirt. "Happy birthday, Mutt," he roared. Mom crossed arms. "At least now you're worth looking at. Even dogs deserve better than you." Olivia filmed me on the ground, laughing. Then they drove off, still laughing. Tires spraying dirt. I sat there in the dust, dogs whining around me, a stranger staring in pity. Something snapped. I stood up slowly and whispered to myself, "They think this is the end of me. This is where I start." A shelter volunteer named Marlene approached, kind eyes, handed me water. Inside, surrounded by abandoned dogs, I realized I wasn't so different from them. A patchy little Mutt pressed against the cage bars, licking my fingers, and I finally let myself cry. I didn't go home that night. Olivia's texts kept coming. "You looked pathetic. Bet the Mutts liked you more than we ever did." I found a cheap motel and stared at the ceiling till morning. Over the next week I drifted between diner shifts and the shelter. Marlene never asked questions, just let me sweep floors and sit with the dogs. There, I felt seen. On the third night, Mom texted, "Your sister's engagement party is coming up. You still owe us $5,000 for decorations. Family first." I typed back one word. "No." Dad called. Thundering threats. I said no again, and hung up. The silence after was terrifying and freeing. I went home a few days later, playing along. Olivia sneered. "Oh look." The runaway Mutt came crawling back. Dad warned I'd make up for my defense. Mom handed me a grocery list before I'd even set my bag down. I smiled, but inside I was already building something. That night I started writing everything down. Dates, times, every cruel word, every dollar they'd drained from me over the years. Over the next month I played the obedient, disposable son while quietly moving my paychecks into an account they didn't know existed. I listened. I learned things. My father's business trips that weren't business. My mother hiding what she spent to keep Olivia perfect, and Olivia's engagement itself, built on lies she thought would never surface. Marlene lent me equipment from the shelter office to digitize the voice recordings I'd secretly saved over the weeks. Every threat, every insult, every cruel joke on tape. The morning of Olivia's engagement party, the house buzzed with orders. "You'll serve drinks tonight," Mom snapped. "Stay out of the photos," Olivia smirked. "Stay in the shadows. You look like the shelter Mutts you love so much." Her words didn't sting anymore. I knew something she did in single quotes. That night, under fairy lights, my parents gave their speeches. Dad toasted Olivia as everything a child should be, unlike others we've had to carry. The crowd chuckled politely at my expense. Mom leaned into the mic. A parent's duty is to nurture greatness, not dead weight. When the applause died, I stepped forward with my glass. Since this is a family celebration, maybe it's time everyone here saw what kind of family this really is. I plugged a USB drive into the slideshow projector. My parents' own voices filled the yard. Dad roaring threats. Mom sneering we should have fed the dog instead of him. Olivia laughing. Even mutts have more worth than you. Then the recordings about money. Dad boasting he'd break my ribs if I didn't pay for the engagement. Then Olivia's own voice, bragging on the phone. Of course I didn't pay for the ring. My loser brother did. He always pays. Olivia's fiancé stood up, chair scraping back. Is that true? She stammered. He shoved her hand away. Guests began leaving. His parents' faces twisted in disgust. My parents' polished image cracked apart in real time. Olivia screamed at me, calling me a jealous freak. I looked at her fiancé instead. You should know who you're marrying. Then I walked away, leaving chaos behind me. Olivia's wails. Dad's furious roars. Mom's desperate pleas to salvage the night. I walked straight to the shelter. The same Mutt wagged his tail as I stepped in. Marlene looked at me. You look lighter, she said. I crouched by the cage, letting the dog lean into me. Because I finally stopped being their shadow, I said. I let them choke on their own poison. For the first time in my life, I didn't feel worthless. I felt free.